Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to stop overthinking so much. I'm taking a slightly more laid back approach to the video today. I'm sitting down instead of standing up like I normally do, and I've got bullet points to work from instead of more of a structured script. So please bear with me if I start to ramble or go off topic. Overthinking is something that I personally have experienced at numerous points in my life. I'm still not necessarily perfect with it, but I do feel that overthinking is something that influences my life today a lot less than it used to. And today I'm going to provide some tools that you can have in your toolbox, which you can go to if you ever find yourself overwhelmed by thoughts, or you feel like your thinking is compulsive or addictive. And these will hopefully help you find that inner peace and that presence, right? That stillness of mind. So with that said, let's crack into it. Alright, so the first way to stop overthinking so much is journaling. Now, I've talked about journaling before. I've got a video where I talk about a monthly journaling system that I used for about 2 years. I found it very helpful, and I'll link down to that video in the description of this video. Journaling in general, no matter how frequently you do it, can be a great tool in stopping overthinking for the following reasons. If you think about when you want to solve a maths problem, it's a lot easier to do it if you write stuff down as you go. And the same applies, in my opinion, to thinking about life and where you want to, how you want to direct yourself, or how you want to approach a certain issue, or what you even want to do in relation to it. That's why I love to just write stuff down. I like to plan things on paper. I like to journal. I like to draw diagrams for myself even sometimes. And I find this really helpful. And the main reason why this helps with overthinking is that it effectively gets the thought process out of your mind and gets it onto paper. And this takes a lot of pressure off of your own mind to, fix the issue, right? Obviously, when you're writing something down, you are still thinking about it. But it's like when you can see your own thoughts as you're thinking them, when because you're writing them down, you can clarify with yourself what the next steps are. Now, what I do these days is I have a daily journaling habit. And what that means is that just before I go to bed every night, I'll write usually about half a page to a page in my A4 notepad, where I will do a few things. I'll express gratitude for the day, and I'll also kind of talk about what I learned during the day, and then I'll kind of talk about what I want to do over the tomorrow or for the foreseeable future, right? And this helps me get to sleep as well, because it means that I'm not thinking about this stuff while I'm lying in bed, because I've already got it down. So that's why journaling, I think, can be great, and that's why I think if you have a tendency to overthink things a lot, you might want to give it a go. Now, a potential objection to this might just be that this doesn't help because you're implying that you even need to be thinking about your life as much as you are. Someone might just say, look, you're just overcomplicating things, why don't you just start doing stuff without thinking about it so much? But if you are a person who has a habit of excessive thinking, you can't necessarily get rid of it completely. But if you have it on paper, then at least it's not happening so much in your mind. The thought process is recorded on paper, and that's where it stays, if that makes sense. So, why not get it out of the way in this form? There are other ways where, to help yourself stop thinking so much in general, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, but this is a way of getting it out of your mind and into the world so it doesn't worry you in your daily life so much. Alright, so the second way of helping stopping overthinking so much is socializing with people that you genuinely get on with. I think there are different forms of socializing, alright? This is fairly obvious, but I think it needs to be stated. On the one extreme, you've got something like networking, which is effectively almost not even socializing at all, because there's a very clearly defined other purpose at a networking event. Everyone's there to kind of advance their careers. Everyone's there to meet people, but everyone in a people aren't necessarily just there for fun. They're there to get something specific out of it, right? If you get a little less intense than that, you would have what I would call adventurous socializing. This is where basically you're meeting new people and you're pushing your comfort zone in terms of the types of people you want to be talking to, how extroverted you want to be. And I personally find that meeting new people can help me stop thinking so much, but I can understand why if someone had quite bad social anxiety, it might cause them to think more, and they might have to do it at a sort of slower pace. Finally, in terms of the least intense form of socializing, you've got your more kind of comfortable conservative socializing. And I think this can be a great way to help stop overthinking so much, because if you go and interact with someone who you're familiar with, who you're friendly with, and you just get on with them well, then you can find yourself falling into a kind of natural rhythm of conversation where your mind isn't chattering so much because you're too engaged in the conversation for that to even be really happening at the same time. It's especially good if the other person themselves is someone who doesn't overthink things a lot, although I'm not at all encouraging you to try and sort of leech off of their presence, right? Because that's not really fair either, right? It's you want to have like a mutually beneficial relationship where you both enjoy each other's company. As simple as that, really. But yeah, you can't necessarily rely on other people completely to provide you with a clear state of mind, because then you become needy. So socializing with people you genuinely get on with is the second way to help stop overthinking so much. So the third way to help stop overthinking things so much is to learn from teachers who actually teach presence and teach no thought and kind of how it can emerge, right? If you can find somebody very present and it doesn't seem like they are thinking too much and they seem very wise and they know the subject well, go and learn from them, right? I can hopefully teach you a little bit, but there are people who are way more advanced than me, who have decades more experience, and you can definitely get something out of learning from them as well. So one such person is Eckhart Tolle. I've talked about him in other videos, and he's just a great teacher to learn from, partly because his voice is just so sort of comforting and relaxing to listen to. I'll link down to a video, he's one of his many videos that he has on YouTube, in the description, and just sometimes listening to that kind of comforting voice can help to quieten your mind, because your mind realizes, oh, I don't have to be constantly active, I don't have to be constantly engaged. Eckhart Tolle has two excellent but quite challenging books called The Power of Now and A New Earth, and if you want to go really deep into the spiritual stuff, go check those books out. They challenge a lot of assumptions you might have about the way the mind works and just kind of what life is about, really. But if you don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, that's fine. You can just listen to videos by Eckhart Tolle, or teachers like Sadhguru. There's a guy called Sadhguru. He's not actually a sad guru. He seems quite free in his energy, present, not thinking very much. And just reading from and learning from teachers like this can be a great way to help stop overthinking so much and find that presence within you. So the fourth way to stop overthinking so much, very simple, talked about this before in the previous video, is meditation. This is just a very direct way of addressing the overthinking condition, right? So meditation is basically where you sit down, comfortable chair. There are forms of active meditation, but mostly it's sitting down, eyes open or closed, and simply observe your thoughts as they come. And the more that you observe your thoughts, the less identified with them you become. And you don't need to judge your thoughts as they come, because you will start thinking when you're just starting out with meditating. But what you may find is that your mind begins to quieten over time. I'll link down to my how to meditate video in this video's description, and you can give a meditation habit a try if it's something that you think would help. Long story short, observing your own mind and your own thoughts in action helps you to let go of them, and this is what allows presence to emerge. Finally, the fifth tool to help stop overthinking things so much is flow state activity. I've mentioned flow state activity before. There are different kinds of flow state activity, but the general gist is that this kind of activity is where you're very much immersed in the process of doing something without necessarily thinking so much, about the past or future. You're just in the process of doing it here and now, and this takes you out of thought. Some good examples of flow state activities would be things like sports, right? I think it's very difficult to be very much immersed in a sport or in a game that requires movement and lost in thought at the same time. You only have so much focus, you only have so much attention, and these flow state activities are great ways to get you out of your mind and into your body. Socializing could actually be described as a form of flow state activity if you're giving the other person your full attention and there's that alertness inside of you. And these are all great ways to, things that take you out of thought. You don't necessarily want to become too dependent on these and as an escape from thinking. I think that when you are trying to work through your problems, that's why things like journaling can help, because sometimes thinking does need to take place, but it's a case of your thinking happening more when you want it to happen or when you choose for it to happen, and less as this constant background noise that is very distracting and just quite tiring to live with really. So yeah, those were the 5 ways to help stop overthinking so much. I'm going to talk a lot more about this topic in the future, go into a lot more detail about addressing the root causes of overthinking. But for now, hopefully this toolbox has given you some ideas on how to get out of thought and enjoy the present moment a little more. So thank you for watching. If you like this, I encourage you to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.